everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to make a heart-shaped trivet. Now the difference between say a trivet and a hot pad or pot holder is that a trivet is only made to set on the wood or counter surface and set a hot pot on. It's not intended to be used as a pot holder or to grab anything hot. Its basic purpose is to protect the surface from the hot item so that it doesn't mess up the surface. And so this one measures about 8 by 8 inches. It's the perfect size for setting, say, a casserole dish on that's coming straight out of your oven or a pot right off the stove. And actually I wanted to make this for myself and I love it, so I thought I would share it with you. It's super easy. We're using triple stitches until our outside row and some other stitches up in here, but mostly triple stitches, and so it works up super fast. And we're also using 2 strands of yarn so that it also is nice and sturdy, but we'll talk more about yarn later. Now you can find this free crochet pattern on my blog, and as always I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make your heart-shaped trivet, you're going to need about 3.5 ounces of yarn. And what we're using is a cotton yarn that's a medium weight, number 4, and holding 2 strands together. Now I'm using cotton because acrylic yarns can burn, and some of the cotton and acrylic blends can burn as well. And again, the intended purpose of a trivet is to be able to put a hot pot or bowl on it without burning the trivet and protecting the surface that it is on. Now, if you're just going to use this as, say, a doily or decoration, acrylic yarns or acrylic blends are fine. But if you're going to use it for a trivet, like I'm going to do, you're going to need to use 100% cotton yarn. Now, there are some 100% cotton yarns that are in a bulky 5 or 6. If you can find those or you have those on hand, you can do that and just use 1 strand. Most of the cotton that I have found is either a 3 or a 4. This one is I Love This Cotton from Hobby Lobby. It's a real soft pink, and it does have a sparkle going through it. And I'm going to be using this yarn. You'll need 3.5 ounces, and we're going to hold those 2 strands together as we stitch. We'll be stitching today with our K hook, which is a 6.50 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle to weave in those ends, and you'll need your scissors. When I'm stitching with 2 strands of yarn and I'm using 1 skein, what I do is I pull 1 from the center and 1 from the outside and hold them together. Now, if that's too complicated, you can always roll your skein of yarn into 2 balls, put them in some sort of a container, and then work with them together. Now, you can also use 2 different colors from 2 separate skeins. If you have 2 skeins, use 2 skeins. It's totally up to you how you want to do that, and just do what works best for you. All right, let's get started. We're going to begin with our slip knot. We're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle. So we'll put that loop of yarn over our hook and pull that through. We'll tie that stay knot so our chain 5 doesn't come undone. Now, if you would prefer to do the magic circle here, you certainly can. We're going to put our hook in, pull up a loop, and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the chain 5 counts as a triple chain 1. We're going to stitch 11 more triple chain 1s in this chain 5 loop. So 2 loops over your hook, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over, and go through the third 2. Now we'll chain 1. And we'll repeat this till we have a total of 12 triples, chain 1. Two loops, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over, go through the third 2, and chain 1. And you'll notice I'm constantly taking my hand and running it across my 2 strands together, and that's going to help it keep from getting twisted. And also drooping. You don't want one drooping and the other tight. You'll also notice that I'm stitching over my tail of yarn so that when we're done, I can gently pull that and close up that hole in the center. All right, so I'm going to continue stitching, triple crochet, chain 1 until I have a total of 12. I have stitched 12 sets of triple chain 1. Here's my last chain 1. We're going to join to the top of the 4th chain, because remember the chain 5 counted as a triple chain 1. We're going to slip stitch. Now we're going to go in that chain 1 space and slip stitch and chain 4. We're going to stitch another triple in this chain 1 space. There we go. Make sure we get all those loops and chain 1. And so the repeat for row 2 is 2 triples in the chain 1 space and chain 1. Oops, got to keep those 2 strands of yarn together. Two triples, chain 1, and we'll repeat this in all the chain 1 spaces around. Two triples, chain 1, and repeat on each of the chain 1 spaces, working all the way around. And join back over here to our chain 4. I've completed those last 2 triples, chain 1, and you'll have a total of 12 sets of 2 triples, chain 1. All right, so I'm going to join to the 4th chain with a slip stitch. I'm going to slip stitch in the top of that next triple, and then I'm going to slip stitch in the next chain 1 space and chain 4. Now we're going to begin forming the heart shape of our trivet. All right, so in this same chain 1 space, we're going to stitch 5 more triples. One, two, three, oops, 4, and this one is 5. So we have a chain 4 that counts as 1, and then I stitched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 6 triples in that chain 1 space. Now, what we're going to be doing is working in the chain 1 spaces between our sets of 2 triples. In the next chain 1 space, we're going to stitch 3 triples. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to stitch 2 triples in the next 2 chain 1 spaces. So 1, 2, then we'll go to the next chain 1 space, 1 and 2. And then we'll go to the next chain 1 space, and in this next chain 1 space we're going to stitch 3 triples. 1, 2, and 3. All right, now before we go farther, I want to turn it around here so you can get a look at it. This is the first heart bump. We did 6, we did 3, 2, 2, and 3 triples using those chain 1 spaces. Now we're going to form that bottom point of our heart in this next chain 2 space. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch 3 triples, 1, 2, 3. We're going to chain 1 and stitch 3 more triples in this same chain 1 space. 1, 2, and 3. And so now that's going to be the bottom point of our heart shape. And so now we're going to work up this side, repeating what we did here, only backwards, of course. All right, so our next chain 1 space, we're going to stitch 3 triples. So 1, 2, and 3. There we go. Let me get some more yarn out here. Then in the next chain 1 space, we're going to stitch 2 triples. So 1, 2, and then we'll stitch 2 triples in the next chain 1 space. 1 and 2. There we go. Now the next chain 1 space, we're going to stitch 3 triples. 1, 2, and 3. All right, so we're working back up. We had 3 over here, 3 over here, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then 3, 3. And this brings us to our next, that ball of yarn is rolling around, our next chain 1 space, and we're going to stitch 6 triples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so this leaves just our last chain 1 space, and in that chain 1 space we're going to stitch a double crochet. So only 1 yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, and go through the second 2 loops. Then we're going to stitch a single crochet. So we go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops. And then we're going to stitch a double crochet. Double, single, double in that last chain 1 space. We're going to join to the 4th with a slip stitch, and we're just going to chain 1. All right, so there now you can see our heart shape of our trivet. The trim is really simple on this project. We chained 1. We're going to go in the first stitch, we're going to stitch a single crochet and chain 1. Then we'll go in the next stitch, stitch a single crochet and chain 1. And so what we're going to do, we're going to work all the way down the side till we get to the point of our heart, just stitching 1 single crochet in each stitch and chain 1. There we go. Single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, working all the way down to the chain 1 space of our point. Now, once you get to the chain 1 space of our heart, and you can see I did that stitching, single crochet, chain 1 around the side. When you get to the point where that chain 1 space is, you're going to go in the chain 1 space and single crochet, then chain 1 and single crochet again. And that's just going to give definition to the point of our heart. And now we're going to work back up around this way, stitching 1 single crochet, chain 1 in each of those stitches, just like we did down here. I've single crochet, chain 1 in each of those stitches, working back up until I reach those 3 stitches in the center where we did a double crochet, single crochet, and double crochet. And what we're going to do is just stitch a single crochet in those 3 stitches. We don't want to put the chain 1 or it'll put too many stitches and crowd it up. Alright, so 1 single crochet in those 3 stitches, and then we'll join to that first single crochet where we started. We'll cut our yarn. We'll go in the next stitch. There we go. Pull it to the back so it's nice and tidy, and tie that off. There we go. Alright, so there's the front of our trivet all completed. And now we need to turn it over and weave in these ends. Now I went ahead and decided to go with the small needle because I can do 1 thread at a time. If you want to do both, you can. But I like doing it this way because I think it holds a little better. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close this up in the center. Make sure it's going to stay neat and tidy. Because I have a feeling that your trivet's going to get washed a little bit, and we want those strands to hold while it's going through the washer and dryer. Now, if you used cotton yarn, you can just toss this trivet in with your towels, and it'll wash it just fine. I actually think once cotton items have been washed, it gets that sizing off, and they end up being a lot more absorbent, although this is not a washcloth. But it will work better and be a little fluffier after you wash it. All right, let's weave in these last 2 and our trivet will be complete. So my trivet is all tidied up and ready to be used. One thing I did want to show you, this yarn was, I love this yarn, cotton from Hobby Lobby. This one is just your basic peaches and cream, and I wanted to show you that they both use 2 strands, but the one using peaches and cream was just a little bit bigger. The other thing that you can do if you feel like that's not going to protect your table enough is you can make 2 hearts, put them together, and then stitch on your trim to hold them together, and then you'll have a double thick heart trivet. And again, the purpose of a trivet is not to put it in your hands because your fingers will burn going through the holes. It's to protect the surface from a hot pot or casserole dish.